President Biden addresses the nation for the first time since the election. We'll see what he had to say to the American people and his successor.
The wind-fueled mountain fire has torched close to 20,000 acres. We'll hear from a student in the area.
A coalition of organizations supporting immigrants rallied in downtown LA today.
Tonight, we're going to dive into reaction from students, experts, and community organizers on the results of the 2024 election. Hi, I'm Daniella Lake.
And I'm Emilia Paz. President Biden addressed the nation, encouraging a smooth transfer of power to Donald Trump's administration.
She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. We all get knocked down. But the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition.
Wiles, his campaign manager, to be his chief of staff. She will be the first female chief of staff in White House history. Wiles formerly worked as a campaign strategist for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
The Republican Party is on track to have a tight hold on Washington. Republicans now hold the majority of the U.S. Senate with 53 seats. The Democrats have 45 seats. 2 seats are yet to be called. In the House, there are still several seats that have not been called, but it's possible Republicans will have the majority there as well. We asked a public policy professor to weigh in.
If the Republicans do retain a House majority, it certainly would not be the first time that one party had control of the House and the Senate and the presidency. And in the past, when one party has controlled all 3 of those bodies, it's made it much easier for a president to pass his agenda. But we've never seen an elimination of separation in powers just because one party or the other controls Washington.
As of this afternoon, Republicans need 8 more seats to have a majority.
Raging wildfires in Ventura County are forcing thousands of people to leave their homes. This comes weeks after President-elect Trump threatened to cut off wildfire aid to California. There are thousands without power and more than 70 school campuses closed. The fire is being fueled by Santa Ana winds. Firefighters have no containment. The fire is burning off the coast of Oxnard and headed south. Since yesterday, the flames burned almost 20,000 acres. The fire is affecting students in the area.
The air quality has been terrible. It is smoky. It is very hard to breathe. You have to wear masks. There is ash everywhere. If you go outside for a little bit, you will see white particles flash by you. And because they shut down power during fires, you have no way of really getting connected to the college campus, to the sheriff.
These wildfires not only have residents nervous, but officials are worried about federal help in light of the election. On the campaign trail, Donald Trump said he might cut wildfire funding to California.
Gavin Newsom is going to sign those papers, and if he doesn't sign those papers, we won't give him money to put out all his fires. And if we don't give him the money to put out his fires, he's got problems. He's a lousy governor.
Voters approved Proposition 4 to provide more funding for wildfires. This proposition authorizes $10 billion in bonds for wildfire prevention, land protection, and water. Climate experts say we can expect more wildfires.
One of the key drivers of increasing wildfire damage, so like the area that burns in a particular fire, is a result of drier air. So the fact that there's just less moisture in the air, one, because conditions are hotter, but also because rainfall has changed. And that dryness of the air, right, is directly related to drying out of vegetation. That is probably the mechanism by which fires burn hotter and burn more extensively.
More than a dozen Ventura school districts will be closed tomorrow as the fire continues with no containment.
A coalition of organizations supporting immigrants is calling on state and federal officials to stand up for the immigrant community.
Prevent mass deportation, prevent any harm to our immigrant communities, because there's so much at stake. Families could be separated. Our economy, would be pushed to the edge if folks would no longer show up to work.
So we want to make sure that this administration that's coming in knows that, we stay ready so we don't have to get ready, and we are going to be ready for them, and also to push the administration that's in power right now.
Rally goers and organizers said they were fired up by President-elect Donald Trump's threat of mass deportations.
We will not accept them to undermine or attack the American labor movement and undermine the people's right to be able to join a union. We will not accept the automatic deportation of immigrant workers and separation of families. And we will not accept further attacks on women and their reproductive freedoms.
Organizers say they will continue to fight for freedom for all in their respective communities. Organizations on campus are also coming together to discuss Tuesday's results. Introducing the Trojan Democrats, Jason Goode is live at the Ronald Tudor Campus Center, where they'll meet in less than an hour. Jason, what's on tonight's agenda?
Well, I'm here on the third floor where the Trojan Democrats will be hosting an election conversation in their first meeting since Trump's presidential victory. We spoke with the vice president of the Trojan Democrats about their voter mobilization efforts ahead of the election.
We did a ton of things. We did phone banking, we did postcarding, we did canvassing. So we were definitely out there trying to mobilize voters. We canvassed for not only Harris Walls, but also local elections like Sade, who won her local election for assembly. We also phone banked for John Tester. He lost.
Students at USC waited in long lines at the Village, with some waiting longer than 2 hours. Exit polls after the election nationally show an uptick in Latina and young men voting more Republican this year. We spoke with professors about the extent and reliability of this shift.
The shift among young people overall towards Trump was quite notable. The shift among Latinos, we don't know exactly how much it'll be, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 6, 7, 8, 9 points movement from 2020.
Continuing an upward trajectory or upward shift, as some are calling it, in Latino support for Republicans. It still is majority support is still majority Democrat. And I want to caution again on exit polls, especially for young people. They tend to have a lot of error in them, and the adjustment may, hopefully, things will be adjusted in a way that we can feel a little bit more comfortable and confident about.
As the ballots are processed and the demographic data is finalized, the country will find out who voted for what soon enough. But here at USC, the exit poll for the Trojan Democrats' feelings about how the election went will happen at 7. For Annenberg Media, I'm Jason Goode, and back to you in the studio.
The presidential candidates poured money into social media platforms. The campaigns reached millions of users on TikTok, X, and Instagram. More than $18 billion were spent on social media advertising during the 2024 election cycle. But one USC professor says the campaigns may have benefited from more organic, user-generated content.
Social media played a massive role for Kamala Harris's initial energy. It doesn't look like her paid social media had quite the same effect as the organic content. The Platform X was a very important tool for Republicans, and particularly with reaching young voters. We really do need to make sure that the messaging, the information that's being collected is accurate.
Annenberg Media's Sierra Carpenter monitored social media live throughout election night. She's here now to tell us more about what she saw. Sierra, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So after observing social media on election night, what did you notice was the main difference or some of the differences between the candidates' tactics?
So I honestly noticed a lot of similarities between the candidates' tactics. They were advertising through X, TikTok, Instagram, and practically every other social media platform there is. Both of the candidates were also using podcasts a lot, which is something that a lot of the generation actively consumes. However, the difference was truly like kind of who they were talking to on the podcast or what like outlets that they were using. So, different types of people would, pursue different content and other things like that. So they really went towards whatever content was catered towards the audience that they were trying to get their votes from.
fascinating. So now that the election is all said and done, have you noticed any new trends arise on various social media platforms?
Definitely. So I am an active TikTok user, and what I've noticed are two trends that are currently popping up. So the first one is the blue friendship bracelet trend. So with that trend, a lot of people who voted for Kamala, and obviously Kamala lost, want to be able to identify each other in public. So they're trying to make blue friendship bracelets so you can see that that person is a safe space. This is kind of similar to the safety pin trend that happened a couple years back. However, some people are calling this trend performative due to the fact that, again, over 50% of the population did end up voting for Donald Trump. There's also a second trend that's happening. This is not necessarily on social media, but we're kind of seeing the fallout of it from social media. So specifically with this trend, we're seeing that a lot of people are losing their Q4 bonuses due to the fact that tariffs are going to increase the cost of goods after January 20th. So essentially, when people used to spend their profits on these Q4 bonuses and people, as in the employees, would reap the benefits, they're now buying an excessive amount of the product or good at a cheaper price right now. That way they won't have to spend that much money in the future. But the employees are definitely being hurt in this process.
And we'll see where shops like TikTok shop and the prices that might go up now that Donald Trump is in office. But thank you so much for joining us today. We'll have to have you again and discuss more social media trends.
Please.
But we are all done here.
Rising concerns about abortion rights is sweeping across the country. We spoke with several students about living in states with abortion restrictions.
We've been hearing a lot about Project 2025, but what is it? We'll break it down for you.
And we'll talk with a political strategist about what went well and what not so well for each candidate's campaign.
Let me tell you how we amplify our Latina voices. Check out Dímelo. We have it all.
Deportes.
Entertainment. Noticias. ¿Qué tal? Soy Mariela Gómez y bienvenidos a Dímelo Ahora.
Radio and podcasting.
Comida y cultura. Digital social media.
¿A qué equipo le vas tú? LA Galaxy o LAFC? Dímelo is the only Latina-focused media outlet at USC. Dímelo. We have it all.
Dímelo. We have it all.
My big friend, I love the big taste of chocolate in this little Hershey's kiss.
Hershey's Kisses, the little kiss with the big taste.
This morning, Billy looked like any other boy, but as the moon rose, he turned into a werewolf. He used new Pa's Halloween makeup kits. His friends did too. Look, Mike's a vampire. Amy's a ghost. Pa's makeup is safer than masks. It never blocks vision, and it's hypoallergenic too. So watch your kids turn into the creatures they really are with new Pa's Halloween makeup kits.
With the outcome of the 2024 presidential election, students, especially those living in states like Georgia and Texas, are concerned about what their reproductive futures might look like.
Someone who may want to have kids one day, I don't know what that looks like. So it is definitely scary living in a world where there's not a lot of certainty, but I'm really just trying to lean into my community. I have a strong tribe of women that I can call my friends and family. So I'm very glad that I have that at least.
I've talked to some of my male students, and a lot of them are like, well, if you look at what Trump has said, he's not going to do anything. But I'm like, it's very easy for you to say when you're not a woman, and this does not directly impact you in any regard. So I think it is definitely very scary.
As a gay woman, I do need IVF when I'm older in order to have kids. So it is super terrifying just to kind of be in a state where that can happen.
Incoming President Trump has repeatedly campaigned on leaving abortion rights up to the states. 13 states currently ban the practice, but industry professionals fear that number will increase in the near future.
A person's choice of what kind of reproductive care that they want, including birth control, is a personal choice, and it should not be decided by politicians or anybody else, and you cannot impose your own moral standards on somebody else.
Voters in Missouri overturned the state's abortion ban on Tuesday. Missouri lawmakers banned abortions in 2022, but the landmark vote now enshrines the right in the state constitution. Missouri is the first state in the nation where voters have ended an abortion ban since the fall of Roe v. Wade.
During the election, Democrats often pointed to Project 2025, a conservative policy blueprint written and supported by many Trump allies. The 922-page document outlines a plan for a Republican president on abortion, immigration, the economy, and other topics.
Look, even though Trump himself has said that he wants nothing to do with Project 2025 and has instead been supportive of other conservative policy blueprints, it's pretty clear that given the authors of this measure have worked with Trump in his past and have also, many of them, have worked with or for Republican members of Congress, it'd be very surprising if at least some components of Project 2025 didn't end up as part of the policy discussion in Washington going forward.
The Project 2025 agenda includes a ban on abortion, mass deportation raids in immigrant communities, and the elimination of the Department of Education. During the campaign, Trump promised the largest deportation operation in American history, to close the federal Department of Education, and to leave abortion in the hands of the states. Despite many similarities, Trump is not directly affiliated to the project.
Political strategists are sharing what they think led Harris to lose and Trump to win this election.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
Polls show that Trump gained more popularity among Latino men and young voters. I spoke with David Seamus, former director of political affairs for the Obama administration, on what he thinks worked well for Trump in this election compared to Harris. What are some of the missteps you think Kamala Harris may have taken in her campaign, and what are some of the things you think worked really well for Trump this time around?
For me, at this stage, it's less of a misstep for her, given the 90 days or 100 days that she had to build a campaign, and more of just the weight of what you're seeing. Now, for President-elect Trump, he is the highest favorabilities he has ever enjoyed, the highest vote share that he has ever enjoyed. For the first time in his 3 runs for president, he had the money to be able to compete online and on television. And there was a consistency of his message that really focused primarily on the economic discontent that people were facing. What I think is one of the most important pieces of the entire election was when she went on The View and she was asked the question whether or not she would do anything different than what had been done by President Biden. And her answer about she can't think of anything offhand that she would do differently put her at the most profound disadvantage. Because if she were viewed as the change candidate in a moment where the negative assessment of the economy and of President Biden was as high as it was, that gives her an advantage. If she's just seen as a continuation, it gives the former president an advantage. And I think that's the piece, when you think of all of the things that she needed to execute on, that piece right there, I think, was the most telling and the most damaging.
And for those of you who are tired of hearing about politics, well, welcome back to See It Later. Even though it's 75 degrees out, I am certainly feeling the holiday spirit. So here's some fun holiday events that you can see later. Mariah Carey has officially defrosted, and she's singing some Christmas tunes tomorrow at 7:30. And to really bring in the holiday cheer, the Santa Monica Outdoor Ice Rink opens tomorrow. You hear me, right? Outdoor ice rink in LA weather? I know. But if skating on slushy ice isn't for you, Italy has a holiday festival at 9 p.m. It's safe to say there are plenty of events to ring in the holiday spirit. Thanks for watching See It Live. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Emilia Paz.
And I'm Daniella Lake. For more coverage, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time. Good night.